Welcome to the Teaching You to Fish podcast, financial literacy for the rest of us. My name is Carl Fish, and I'm the host of this podcast. This is episode 14, Investing, Part 4, Saving and Investing for College with a 529 College Savings Plan. In previous episodes, we learned the vocabulary of investing, including asset location, allocation, and tax status. We also learned about taxable, traditional, and Roth accounts, the incredible power of compound interest, and the incredible negative power of fees. And we discussed how people should invest in low-cost, diversified index funds and divide up their investments into three categories based on time horizon: short, medium, and long-term buckets. This episode discusses one particular medium-term bucket investment, investing for a child's college education. For the majority of people, the best way to do that is through a 529 college savings plan. Note, while the name includes the word college, these plans can be used for a variety of post-secondary educational opportunities. This includes college, of course, but also trade school, some apprenticeships, and similar training opportunities. Some states, but not all, even allow you to use 529 funds to pay for private K-12 tuition. In many ways, a 529 account is like a Roth account. The earnings on your contribution grow tax-free, and your withdrawals are also tax-free as long as you use them for qualified educational expenses. But 529 plans also have several important advantages over Roth accounts. 529 plans are sponsored by individual states, and you can contribute to any state's 529 plan, although there is often a good reason to choose your own state's plan. Savingforcollege.com is a great place to learn more about 529 plans, as well as what plans each state offers. I'm going to use Colorado's College Invest 529 plan as my example in this episode, both because it's the one I know the best and because it offers all the various features that a 529 plan can offer. The first advantage of a 529 over a Roth account is state-specific, and it may or may not apply to your state's plan. Many states offer some kind of state tax deduction or tax credit for contributing to a 529 plan. For example, Colorado allows you to deduct up to $25,400 per taxpayer per beneficiary for single filers, or $38,100 per tax filing per beneficiary for joint tax return filers from your state income taxes. Colorado has a flat tax rate of 4.25%, so that translates into an immediate 4.25 return on investment on whatever you contribute each year up to those maximums. Many, but not all, states offer a similar deduction from your income for state income tax purposes, but the amount varies by state, and of course, state tax rates vary as well. Some states even have some kind of matching program. For example, Colorado currently has two different matching programs depending on the age of your child. Colorado's College Invest First Step program is available to all children born on or after January 1st, 2020, and have not yet reached the age of 8. Colorado will contribute $118 to your account up front, and then match your contributions up to $500 for the first 5 years, for a total match of $2,618. For children born before January 1st, 2020, there's a second matching grant program, which any child under the age of 9 can apply for. This one does have an income limit based on the federal poverty guidelines, but many people will qualify. This program also matches contributions up to $500 each year for 5 years, so up to a total of $2,500. Many other states have some kind of matching contribution, so it's worth checking out. Unlike Roth IRAs, 529s have no earned income requirement, no income limits, and much higher contribution limits. Anyone can contribute to a 529 plan no matter their income. You typically can contribute much more each year than you can to a Roth IRA, and you can contribute to as many different 529 plans for as many different beneficiaries as you'd like. Also, unlike Roth IRAs, 529 accounts can be transferred to a different beneficiary as long as that beneficiary is a family member, generally defined as a parent, sibling, child, or cousin of the original beneficiary. One downside of a 529 plan is that you can only make tax-free withdrawals for qualified educational expenses. The good news, however, is that definition is pretty broad and includes tuition, room and board, books, fees, and supplies. Many people also don't realize that room and board isn't restricted to costs you pay to live on a campus. If the student lives off campus, or even at home, you can get reimbursed for room and board expenses based on a formula. If you withdraw money from a 529 plan for non-qualified expenses, you will have to pay taxes on the earnings, perhaps pay back some of the tax breaks you got for contributions if your state offered them, and pay a 10% penalty on the earnings. Because of this, many people are hesitant to contribute to a 529 because they aren't sure their child will end up getting a post-secondary education. While this is somewhat of a valid concern, I think for most people it's overblown because of the many alternatives you have for the money if they don't use it for post-secondary education. First, as mentioned, you can transfer the account to many other family members. This is especially nice if you have more than one child, because if you end up with extra for any older child, you can always transfer it to the younger child. Of course, if the younger child doesn't attend post-secondary, that doesn't help all that much. Some parents even transfer it to an account for themselves, allowing them to go back to school later in life. Or you can transfer it to your children's children if they have them. And of course, you can simply wait, as some kids may decide to go back to school later in life instead of right out of high school. If your child receives some kind of scholarship, you can also withdraw the amount of the scholarship without the 10% penalty, although you may still have to pay taxes on the earnings portion. Realizing that some folks were still hesitant, Congress also passed a law that allows you to transfer a portion of a 529 account to the beneficiary's Roth IRA account. There are many rules and restrictions around that, including a total amount you can transfer of $35,000, but it still provides a nice extra cushion if you have a bit left over, and is a nice way to fund the first few years of their Roth IRA. So what if none of those options end up working for you? Did you make a big mistake contributing to a 529 plan? My answer would be no, and this is why. Sure, if you end up not needing this money for post-secondary expenses, and you have to pay taxes and a 10% penalty, then in hindsight, you'd have wished you would have invested this money somewhere else. But I look at it in a different way, which is that in many ways this is found money. While paying the taxes and the penalty isn't ideal, you still are getting money that you didn't expect to have because you had set it aside to help fund post-secondary education. While you might prefer that it had been spent on higher education for your child, it now becomes extra money that you can use for whatever you want. One last question people often have is, how do 529 plans affect potential financial aid? The amount in a 529 plan owned by a parent is generally considered a parental asset in the context of financial aid, so therefore counts less heavily than assets attributed to the student. A 529 account owned by a grandparent or someone else can be treated differently. So if financial aid is something you'll be looking at, you'll want to take the ownership of the account into consideration. If you decide that contributing to a 529 plan is right for you, how do you pick which 529 plan to contribute to? It depends on several factors. First, does your state offer a tax deduction or any kind of matching grant program? If it does, then you will most likely want to use your state's 529 program. But most likely isn't always, and that's because of our old friend, fees. Like all investments, 529 plans have fees associated with them, and the fees charged by various state plans vary. For example, Colorado charges a reasonable, but not fantastic, 0.29% fee for all investment choices. Even if your state offers a tax deduction, if it also has high fees, those can sometimes outweigh the benefits of the tax deduction. As always, it depends on your individual situation, and it could make sense to contribute to another state's plan if the fees are enough lower and your state tax break isn't that great. Second, many states offer multiple plans, with the main difference often being that some of the plans come with an advisor. As we talked about in episode 13, I would avoid those plans because of the higher fees and go with the plan you manage yourself. In Colorado, that means choosing the direct portfolio option. Once you've picked a plan, then you need to choose investments. Most plans offer 3 types of investment choices: an age-based plan, a risk tolerance plan, and individual static investment options. As always, the fees associated with each investment choice are extremely important, so check those first. If there's not a big difference in fees, then most people should likely choose the age-based plan. This is a plan that is much like a target date fund for retirement, but the target date is when the beneficiary turns 18 and is presumably graduating high school. You can, of course, choose a more aggressive or conservative option if you wish. Here are Colorado's investment choices, with the age-based plans automatically getting a bit more conservative, more bonds, the closer the beneficiary gets to age 18. Because Colorado charges the same expense ratio for all of their choices, your decision will be based totally on your risk tolerance. One other thing to keep in mind is that multiple people can contribute to a 529 plan for a particular beneficiary, or even open multiple accounts for that beneficiary. A typical example of this would be grandparents wanting to help pay for a grandchild's post-secondary education. One way to do that is for the grandparents to give you the money and you contribute to the 529 plan. That's perfectly legal for them to do as long as they don't exceed the huge gift tax exclusion limits, and has the added benefit that if your state has a tax break for contributions, you get to claim that. Grandparents could also choose to open their own 529 plan for your child. Again, there's no limit on the number of people who can open a 529 plan for a particular beneficiary. This can make sense if the grandparents want to maintain control of the account, and particularly makes sense if the grandparents live in a different state and their 529 plan is superior, either due to the state tax breaks or the fees and investment choices. And of course, it doesn't have to be just grandparents. It can be aunts, uncles, or really anyone who has an interest and the means in supporting your future scholar. A final note: while ideally you would start when your children are young so that compound interest can work its magic, it's never too late to start. Even if your child is already in college or other post-secondary training, you might still consider contributing to a 529 plan if your state offers a tax deduction or tax credit. Most plans don't have any time restrictions on when you can withdraw contributions. So you can contribute to the plan one month and withdraw from it the next. While it likely won't grow very much in that time, you still get the state tax deduction or credit for the contribution. While there are other ways to save for post-secondary education, a 529 plan is going to be the best option for the vast majority of people. The combination of the Roth-like tax advantages and a possible state tax break on contributions will give a large boost to your investments. And if there are matching grant funds available, it's pretty much a no-brainer to at least contribute that much. It's kind of like an employer match, only the employer is your state government. If you're taking notes throughout this series, write a paragraph or two or more reflecting on this exercise. If you're comfortable sharing your reflection, there are several ways to do that. If you're watching or listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, then you can leave your thoughts and/or your feedback or questions in the comments. You can also always reach out to me directly on social media or via email. I'm Carl Fish on Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, or you can email me directly at carlfish@gmail.com. In our next episode, we'll look at your cash flow in retirement, including exploring any Social Security and/or pension benefit, as well as safe withdrawal rates from your investment accounts.